Imagine this. The Clippers are in the middle of one of the most ambitious projects in NBA history, building a brand new arena worth billions, positioning themselves as one of the league's most valuable franchises, and yet right in the middle of all this success, a storm erupts. At the center of it is not just the team, but its biggest star Kawhi Leonard and an investment company called Aspiration. Now you might remember the headlines when this case first exploded. Leonard allegedly received $28 million in a contract that raised eyebrows because it looked like a classic no-show deal, money exchanged for very little actual work, and some people even suggested it could have been a way to get around the NBA's strict salary cap rules. Think about that for a second. The Clippers are already one of the richest teams in the league with an owner like Steve Ballmer, a man worth tens of billions. Yet somehow, there was this side agreement lurking in the shadows. Doesn't that make you wonder? Why would a player of Kawhi's stature need such a deal? And why would a team with so many resources even risk the bad publicity? That's what makes this story so fascinating. Because it's not just about one contract or one player. It's about the bigger question of trust, power, and the business side of basketball that fans rarely get to see. And here's the twist. What we thought was the whole story a few months ago has now exploded into something much bigger, with new documents, new contradictions, and even Ballmer himself making shocking claims. So buckle up, because this is not just an update. This is a new chapter in what could become one of the NBA's biggest scandals of the decade. So let's break down where things stand now. The lawsuit filed by Aspiration has officially entered a heated phase, with the company claiming that Kawhi Leonard was paid millions of dollars for almost no real promotional work. According to their lawyers, Leonard's involvement was supposed to bring credibility and visibility to the brand. But in practice, he only appeared in a single photo shoot and one short video. That's it. Can you imagine paying someone $28 million and barely getting any exposure in return? It sounds outrageous, but here's where it gets even more complicated. Leonard's side has completely denied these allegations, saying that Aspiration is exaggerating and trying to save itself from financial troubles by dragging his name into court. Now, here's the part that shocked a lot of fans. Steve Ballmer himself, one of the richest and most powerful men in sports, has testified that he had no idea about the financial details of this deal and that it had nothing to do with the Clippers' operations. But many fans are asking the same question you might be thinking right now. How can a billionaire owner who runs one of the most tightly controlled organizations in the NBA not know about such a massive side deal involving his franchise player? Do you buy that explanation, or do you think there's more under the surface? This is where the story really starts to test our ability to separate fact from perception. On one side, you have a company that seems desperate. On the other, you have one of the league's biggest stars fighting to protect his reputation. And caught in the middle is an NBA franchise that cannot afford another scandal when it's on the verge of opening its shiny new arena. And here's where things start to ripple beyond just Kawhi Leonard and Aspiration. Think about the timing. The Clippers are moving into the Intuit Dome, a billion-dollar arena project that is supposed to mark a new era for the franchise. The last thing the team wants is for headlines about lawsuits, money disputes, and possible ethical violations to overshadow that historic moment. But scandals have a way of sticking, don't they? Once a player's name is tied to a controversy like this, even if he's cleared later, it lingers in the minds of fans and the media. We saw this with other NBA figures in the past, where off-court issues became a permanent part of their legacy. So let's ask ourselves this. If you are an NBA superstar and your brand is supposed to be built on discipline, quiet focus, and professionalism, how damaging is it when your name starts trending for all the wrong reasons? It doesn't just affect Kawhi, it affects his teammates, it affects the franchise's reputation, and it could even impact the business partners who are considering sponsoring the Clippers in their new building. Because companies don't like being associated with controversy. Do you think these corporate sponsors will hesitate, or will the Clippers' star power be enough to keep them confident? This is the tension that makes this story so fascinating, because it is not just about one player and one company. It's about the entire ecosystem around the NBA and how fragile its image can be when even one piece of the puzzle cracks. And beyond the business implications, there is also a deeper conversation about trust and perception. Kawhi Leonard has always been seen as a private and disciplined figure, someone who lets his game speak louder than anything else. That silence has been part of his mystique, but now it raises new questions. When someone so quiet and reserved is linked to a messy financial dispute, fans start to wonder what is really going on behind the curtain. Do we know these players as well as we think we do? Or are we only seeing the carefully curated version that gets shown on the court and in commercials? This is where the psychology of fandom kicks in. Fans want their stars to be untouchable, to rise above the chaos, but scandals remind us that athletes are human and sometimes deeply flawed. The disappointment can hit hard because it challenges the idealized version of the player that fans have invested in emotionally. And here's another question worth thinking about. If Kawhi Leonard, one of the most reserved stars in NBA history, can find himself in a storm like this, does it prove that no one in the league is truly safe from controversy? Or is this simply a rare exception that will fade as quickly as it appeared? And then there is the ripple effect on the Clippers organization. The team is in a crucial moment, trying to solidify its identity with the new arena and an ownership group that wants to project success and stability. Having the face of the franchise tangled up in a lawsuit over money creates tension that cannot be ignored. Sponsors, investors, and even potential free agents watch closely because image matters in sports as much as performance. If the Clippers want to be seen as a legitimate powerhouse, they cannot afford distractions like this. But it is also interesting to note how the NBA as a league reacts. The NBA has become incredibly protective of its global image, and scandals involving star players are not just local problems, they are international news. That means the league might feel pressure to quietly manage the narrative, keeping the focus on the season rather than the controversy. Yet, can controversies like this really be contained in the era of social media? Or do they inevitably take on a life of their own, no matter how hard teams and leagues try to spin them? And finally, we need to talk about what this means for the fans. Clippers supporters have already been through years of turmoil, from the Donald Sterling scandal to constant struggles for respect in a city dominated by the Lakers. Kawhi was supposed to represent a new chapter, the symbol of a franchise finally standing tall on its own. Now those same fans are left wondering if their star is fully committed, if his off-court life is going to overshadow his on-court contributions. That creates doubt, and doubt is toxic when you are trying to build a winning culture. For the wider NBA audience, this story becomes part of a bigger conversation about loyalty, transparency, and the true nature of professional athletes. Are players role models who should be held to a higher standard? Or are they just human beings with flaws and complicated lives? These are questions that keep resurfacing every time a scandal hits, and they are worth reflecting on. If you want to dive deeper into this story, I already made a full video on the Clippers controversy that breaks down the initial details, so make sure to check that out. And of course, if you want to stay updated on every twist and turn in the scandals shaking the NBA world, hit that subscribe button and step behind the backboard with us, because the real game starts where the spotlight ends. So as this drama continues to unfold, one thing is clear. The NBA is no longer just about points, rebounds, and championships. It is about narratives that test the image of the league, challenge fan loyalty, and put the spotlight on how stars like Kawhi Leonard balance their personal lives with the enormous weight of expectation. Whether this scandal fades away or turns into something bigger, it will leave its mark on how we view him, the Clippers, and the NBA itself. What do you think? Should a player's personal issues have this much impact on how we see their legacy, or should it be kept completely separate from the court? Let me know in the comments, because your voice is what keeps this conversation alive. And remember, if you want to uncover the untold stories that shape the NBA, make sure you subscribe to Behind the Backboard, because here, the real game starts where the spotlight ends.